It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
As you all know, folks, November 6th is probably one of the most important days in our lives. It's election day, and we're asking all of our viewers to please look at everyone who is running, check their credentials. I want to welcome all the viewers in the Harrisburg area on the channel. I appreciate you tuning in. My name is Sam Lesante. You're watching the Sam Lesante Show. My guest today is U.S. Congressman Lou Barletta from the U.S. District 11th District, and we're going to talk about a number of things. But before we start the show, folks, I want you to know I've been in contact with Mr. Stilp, and he says that he will be letting me know coming on the show, so I want this to be equal opportunities for both parties, Republican and Democrat. Congressman, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Sam. Good to be here.
I want to tell you about a little experience I had at the Bloomsburg Fair. Okay, I'm at the Bloomsburg Fair as well as you were at the Bloomsburg Fair, and this guy came up to me. He's maybe I'd say 68, 69. He says, "I want you to know I'm not voting for your friend Barletta because he did nothing in 2 years, and I'm not voting for him." And I said, well, this is why it's called America, and if you feel he's done nothing in 2 years, I said, he's coming on my show, and let's find out what he did in 2 years, okay? And what did the what did the Republican Congress do, Lou?
Well, first of all, Sam, you know, everyone needs to realize that the House of Representatives, which is controlled by the Republicans, is only 1/3 of what we need to accomplish in getting something passed, a bill actually passed and signed by the president. You know, from the House, it goes to the Senate. The Senate is controlled by the Democrats, and then it goes to the president, who is also a Democrat. We have passed over 1,400 bills in the House of Representatives. Right now, as we speak today, there are 39 jobs bills that we passed in the House of Representatives that we have sent to the Senate that Harry Reid has not even brought up for a vote. 39 jobs bills, energy bills, releasing some of the regulations on coal here in Pennsylvania, natural gas, energy bills, jobs bills. It's just incredible, and they're not even coming up for a vote. So we're in a position where we can't get a bill to the president unless the Senate will pass a bill first. So you know, I've found an opportunity to, even though I feel we have stopped a lot of bad things from happening to the country, you know, I have found an opportunity where I, as an individual member of Congress, could make a difference. And what I was able to accomplish in my first term was something that I think is very near and dear to most people, not only here in northeastern Pennsylvania, but also in south central Pennsylvania. Last year, the devastating floods you know, have really hurt our area. So many homes were destroyed, businesses were destroyed. And as I went from community to community, talking and helping the people there, you know, Sam, it was heartbreaking. I watched a senior citizen break down and cry. A young man stood on the porch with me and also cried because their whole life, everything they owned was destroyed. I went back to Washington to see how we can help. What kind of help can the United States government give to these people? And what I found is that if you can get credit elsewhere through the Small Business Administration, we can offer you a 6% loan. 6%. I was embarrassed to tell the people back home that this is all that we can do to help. When I did some research, I found that in the last 2 years, we gave Pakistan $214 million for flood disaster relief. You know what interest rate they paid? 0. You know what their payback was? Nothing. But we were charging Americans 6% interest. So I went on a crusade for over a year to change the way our country deals with disasters. And I had introduced a bill that would provide relief to anyone in America where there's a presidentially declared disaster. If you cannot get credit elsewhere, you can get a loan from the government at half of whatever the market rate is. So today, it would be about 1.5%. And if you can get credit elsewhere, it'd be 3/4 of what the market rate is. And I made it retroactive to January 1st last year, so anyone who took out a loan at the higher interest rates will get a rebate from the federal government. I paid for this bill by taking the money away from publicly funded the convention funds, taxpayers' dollars that are sending politicians on conventions. The bill has passed the House and is now sitting over in the Senate. So it's something that I'm very, very proud of in my first term.
So what you're saying is, Lou, that the Republican Congress has submitted a number of bills, but they're being stagnated in the Senate.
Not even coming up for a vote.
Okay,
Harry Reid is not even bringing these bills up for a vote.
Okay, so this is what I think the public sometimes, what I've been saying for years, and you've been on the show a number of times, and I really appreciate every time we've asked you, you responded, you've made the time available to come to speak to your constituents, and I think that's very important. But let me just ask you this, okay, you had a business, I have a business, all right? Now, am I correct in stating, at one point in time, when President Obama was in his office, he had the Congress, he had the Senate, and he had, of course, the judicial branch. So they had total control for 2 years, okay? Now, if you have total control for 2 years, and you could do anything you want to do because you have total control, and please correct me, and I don't want to sound like I'm picking on anybody, but you know, business people, is when we talk accountability, don't you think with the stimulus and everything, if you had total control, why are we in such a dire shape in our economy and in the country today if you had total control for 2 years?
Well, for the 2 years that he had total control of the House, the Senate, and the White House, instead of working on jobs bills and getting America back to work, because unemployment was over 8% at that time, instead of working on jobs bills, he worked on a health care bill, changing America's health care, the government takeover health care, or Obamacare, instead of working on the economy and in jobs. And this was a health care bill that the American people didn't want. The American people wanted affordable health care. They didn't want the government taking over health care. How can the government take over health care and make it less expensive with all the waste, fraud, and abuse that goes on in so many programs that we all know of? But instead of working on the economy, Sam, they worked on a health care bill that will cost, by CBO, Congressional Budget Office's own account, 800,000 American jobs because of the government takeover.
And it seems that they don't care about that. It just seems that the Democrats, the controlled Democrats, really are not concerned about that. And I've heard this a number of times, not only from you, but from resources, that's how many jobs it will cost. And I know how business people feel about that. Staying on the same thing, okay, did he not, Pelosi, say with the stimulus money, okay, and how much did we spend in stimulus money?
$800 billion.
$800 billion, okay? I remember them saying, we're going to put a lot of people back to work. That's $800 billion of taxpayers' monies that went into a lot of corporations, and maybe some made, some did. But I don't see the return on that, okay, unless I'm wrong.
Well, you know, they also said we were going to fix America's infrastructure with that
Yeah.
money, when actually only 5% of the money actually went for infrastructure. It went to failed projects, and the money really did nothing other than increase America's debt, which is now over $16 trillion. This is the first administration that has run a $1 trillion deficit every year for the last 4 years. At the same time, Sam, this Senate hasn't even proposed a budget. We in the House have tackled every single tough problem there was, including Medicare. Issues that politicians were afraid to tackle. But that's what they sent us to Washington to do. And that's what we did. We did our job, passed the budget, which is being criticized, when the Senate hasn't even passed the budget, introduced the budget in 4 years.
So here again, I know in business we have to be accountable. Anyone who's working today at any job has to be accountable, all right? Why isn't the president and the Congress accountable to the United States citizens of what the millions and millions of billions of dollars that they have wasted, and yet we don't see anything from any major news media, you know, asking for accountability. And I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see this.
Well, you know, I have a lot of faith in the American people. And the reason that I'm in Washington today is because the American people have said they have had enough with politicians in Washington who are not listening. Their voices, the people's voices, weren't being heard. They sent us there with a very clear message of what they wanted spending under control. This is unconscionable, what we are doing to our children and our grandchildren in running up a debt that they will never be able to pay for. Sam, every generation since America was founded has left the next generation a better opportunity in life. What are we leaving our children and grandchildren? A bill? Less opportunities? 50% of college students can't find a job when they come out. 1 in 6 Americans are now on food stamps. That's increased 40% under this president. We can go on and on and on. Entrepreneurship is at a 17-year low. And
what's the incentive?
You couldn't start a business
today.
There's
no way, right, exactly.
You couldn't start a business today. When you talk to the banks, they'll tell you the regulations are killing them. Mm-hmm. They would love to be able to provide capital to people, but the regulations are killing them, the over-regulations. Washington has their foot on the throats of the American business, and the policies of this administration will never allow this economy to come back.
Folks, I'm talking to U.S. Congressman Lou Barletta, and I said to you, Mr. Stelp, who his opponent will be, said he would be coming on the show, and we'll give him equal opportunity. But here's my question, folks, is this. Jobs are at the lowest they've ever been. The economy is almost going down the drain. You're paying for fuel prices, folks. You know what you're paying for when you go to the gas, okay? You know what the food prices are. You turn around and say, oh my God, these prices are so high. And for those of you who have discretionary income, you don't have it anymore. So what is going on with the country, and what direction are we going? That's why I said, folks, November 6th, vote for the most qualified person. Here's a question before you go to break. If you take all of your own earnings that you've earned, okay, take all the money that you've earned, I want to ask you very seriously, would you give that money to President Obama to invest, or would you give it to Governor Romney to invest? Think about it. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show for folks, SSPTV.com. My email is sam@ssptv.com. I welcome your emails. I welcome your constructive criticisms. My guest today is U.S. Congressman Lou Barletta from the 11th United States Congressional District. I did speak to Mr. Stelp, and he's hoping that we will have him on as well. I'm giving him equal opportunity. The economy, Lou, is actually going down the toilet, okay? And I can't understand. People are being faced, I said before the break, you know what it is when you're paying gas. You know what it is when you're buying food. You know what it is when you're buying things, and people say, oh my God, these prices are going through the roof. I don't know how some people are making it. So it seems to me that, once again, we're not addressing things that are important for society, and I don't understand why.
Well, again, it's the policies and the ideology of the administration, where the president believes that it is government that should really be the growth of government, the expansion of government, that government's involvement, whether it be in the private sector or, from everywhere, Sam, government is now involved, from the boardroom to our bedroom. Mandating, the contraceptive mandating, asking Americans to choose between their God and their government. We are losing our liberties, where the president has overstepped his constitutional authority many times with executive orders that I personally believe are not constitutional, whether it be amnesty for illegal aliens. It is over and over again the attack on our Second Amendment rights. We all remember the comment about clinging to our guns and our Bible. Unfortunately, here in Pennsylvania, we do cherish our Second Amendment rights, and there are many religious folks, and especially those. This was not just an attack on the Catholic faith. This was an attack on faith in general, because if government can do this to the Catholic faith, who's next? We are watching our liberties being taken from us. We are watching a debt of a country that we're not going to be able to pay back. 24 million Americans out of work. And now we talk about the middle class because it's popular to talk about growing the middle class. Sam, today almost 50% of Americans are either considered low income or in poverty. So the policies aren't working. You cannot have government involvement and the growth of government. Who could spend your dollar better, you or Washington? Why does Washington, it's not a matter that Washington doesn't tax enough. The problem is that Washington spends too much. Mm-hmm. And they want more money. They want to tax more people so that Washington could spend the money. On the other hand, I believe in the private sector. I believe in that the people will spend their dollar better than Washington can.
Recently in Hazleton, I was in front of a place of business, and this lady came out who I think I know, very nice elderly lady, and she said to me very courteously, she said, you are being brainwashed. Romney has you brainwashed. I'm voting for Obama, okay? And she has to be in her 70s, maybe mid-70s. And I said, okay, I don't know what you mean brainwashed. I said, but ma'am, I said, before, again, you make a statement, and as I tell all viewers, they should really look as to what the Obamacare really is, okay? And we've had many people on this show to discuss what it is, all right? And until they hit a brick wall, and if anyone I really feel sorry for is going to be the senior citizens. These people are going to get hit so hard. When Attorney Falvello mentioned about his brother who lives in Spain, and they have socialized medicine. Well, when one of his relatives on the wife's side was sick, they said, you've already outlived your life, and she died. Another person had cancer, and he was up in age. He could not get the benefits. Now, are we going that route? Okay, so when we talk about Obamacare, and it sounds good, everyone has health insurance, etc. So I asked this poor lady, I said, ma'am, first of all, why are you against someone who is a millionaire? What if your son or daughter would have done so well in life and worked so hard and able to achieve something, and someone criticized them? You'd say, well, you don't know what my son had to do. You don't know what my daughter had to do. They worked their life up. They gave all this stuff. And it's okay if it's your family that's successful, but now here's a man, and I said before we went to break, take your life earnings and you have to invest into someone. Would you give it to Romney or give it to Obama?
Well, it's a very simple answer, obviously. If I was hiring somebody to run my company, I would want that they had some kind of executive experience to begin with. The American, it's great to like a person, and I think we put a lot of emphasis on likability.
And he's very likable.
Well, it is, but to me, Sam, I'm going to tell you, I'm probably never going to go out to dinner or in the movies with either one of these gentlemen. So as likable as they are, that's great. But I want somebody who can do the job. When they go to the White House, somebody who knows what they're doing. Our lives and our children's lives depend on somebody that can run this country, that understands the economy, understands what it takes to create jobs, and understands that government's role is not to grow government, but because it costs people more money when government gets involved. So we have two different ideas of which direction we want to go with this country. And Obamacare, again, this attack on Medicare, because we always know that the scarce seniors is the top priority of many politicians come every election time. And you'll hear Lou Barletta is going to end Medicare.
Yep.
No, I'm not, Sam. Medicare is going to end on its own if I don't do something. And I'm not going to do that. We made a promise to our senior citizens, but how could anybody who supports Obamacare defend the fact that $716 billion will be coming out of Medicare?
They don't hear that. See, you Republicans want to take Medicare away. You Republicans are bad for senior citizens. You Republicans are very bad, okay? But yet, they've taken $716 million. We don't hear that. Folks, I'm talking to Congressman Barletta. Remember, Mr. Stelp will have his opportunity to present his side as well. But folks, we're only talking facts. Please understand the facts. Seniors, do not be fooled. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. So how many of you are really hot and bothered out there now thinking about, I'm a Democrat, and I'm going to vote for a Democrat. I'm Republican, I'm going to vote for a Republican. That's why we're in the mess we are today in the country, folks, because they have you hook, line, and sinker believing that the Democrats are all for the poor and the Republicans are all for the rich, and we're going down the tubes as fast as you look at it. Are you paying your utility bills? Are you paying your gas bills? You know what they are, the food bills. You know what you're up against. How about your health care costs? My guest, U.S. Congressman Lou Barletta. Lou, $90 billion. Okay, we talk about accountability. The president wasted $90 billion on green energy, okay, and has done nothing for coal industry when we had, as you, from the day one, when John Rich started his, the liquefaction plant, make coal, clean coal, and hit every environmental, passed every environmental agency, okay, Today, we would have had over 400, 500 people working, making $20, $30 a job. We would have hired over 3,000 people in constructions. We would be making fuel out of what we have in abundance, which you have said tons of times, Cole, on this show. Yet we have $90 billion wasted when the entire state of Pennsylvania, thank God we have Marcellus Shale and we have the natural gases we have. What's wrong?
Well, Sam, I'm going to disagree with something you said there. You said that this president has done nothing for coal, and that's absolutely not factually correct. This president has done everything he could to put coal out of business. He has made it harder and harder to use coal with regulations, especially regulations that hurt here at home in Pennsylvania. This president does not like fossil fuels, does not like natural gas, did everything he could to stop the Keystone Pipeline. We send $1 billion a day to countries that hate us for oil. We have enough natural gas and coal under our feet right here in Pennsylvania to provide for our country for over 100 years. We can be a world leader. But again, the regulations that this administration through EPA is putting on the coal industry literally is preventing our exploration of clean coal technology and making it harder for natural gas.
I said before, you'll see the lies on television all the time with the commercials. They take something and you're going to do away with Medicare. You really are, because Blue Barletta is going. You want to, you're going to do it with Social Security, you're going to do it with Medicare. You're a Republican, you're no good, you're bad, et cetera, et cetera. And what do you say about that?
Well, in 12 years, Medicare is bankrupt. Now, I have 4 daughters, Sam. That means not one of my daughters will have Medicare if I do nothing.
Okay.
So here's the options we have. If you are 55 years or older, nothing will change. The plan you have is the plan you will keep. So if you're a senior citizen today or a near senior, 55 years or older, nothing changes. If you are younger than 55, Medicare is bankrupt in 12 years. You won't get Medicare. It won't be there for you unless we do something. The plan we are proposing will protect seniors and near seniors from 55 or older. Younger Americans will have the same plan, an option, as what I was offered as a member of Congress. When I was elected to Congress, they gave me a book of approved health care plans. There was a different cost depending on the plan I chose. So much of that would be subsidized by the government. The balance, if I chose a more expensive plan, I paid for. The plan I have, Sam, I pay $450 a month for the healthcare plan I have. I could choose a lesser plan. If we do this with Americans, and the lower income you are, the more subsidy you will get from the government. The higher income you are, the less subsidy you will get. If you get a catastrophic illness, the government will put more money toward it. If we do that, we not only save Medicare, but we begin to pay off America's debt. Because you see, what's driving our debt, and the reason that we are $16 trillion in debt, is that 10,000 people are retiring every single day. We don't have enough people paying into these programs as what's coming out of these programs. So until we do something with the entitlement programs and reform them and protect them, our country will never be able to pay off its debt.
So should senior citizens be afraid of Lou Barletta or Mitt Romney because, he's a multimillionaire and he doesn't care about
We are
poor
the only
people.
ones who are guaranteeing to seniors that the plan you have is the plan you will keep. The plan that my opponent and that President Obama supports is going to take $716 billion out of Medicare, and they have no plan as to how they save Medicare in the future.
The Democrat platform, and this is what surprised me about Senator Casey and Vice President Biden, who are Catholics. When I talk about substance, and people don't like to hear religion, very quickly, the Democrat platform did not have one mention of God in it, 26,000 words. When they wanted to put God back into their platform, now which means that they're for pro-choice, abortions, kill as many babies as you can, maybe partial birth, abortion will come in, men marrying men, women marrying, they're all for that, the ultra-liberal, they want all of that stuff. But when it came to putting God in, do you realize that you saw it on television, and Fox was the only ones, because you'd never see it on ABC or CBS or NBC, because God forbid they should put the truth out or show what's happening. I don't say that they don't say the truth. The point is that he was booed 3 times. they booed putting God into their platform. Where was the outrage from Biden? Where was the outrage from Senator Kennedy or Senator Casey? Now, if there was, I stand to be corrected and I apologize.
Well, I didn't hear any apologies, Sam. I didn't hear anyone stand up and say, listen, government does not belong in our faith and of all places, attacking one faith such as they have the Catholic religion in the religious mandate. Again, this is a slippery slope. Once we open that door,
it's going to happen to all of them.
It's going to happen to every religion.
Congressman, thanks for coming on the show. Folks, you know we only talk facts here, and that's the sad part. Many people don't want facts. They want power. Okay, now I'm going to have Mr. Stelp on. I'm going to ask him the same questions and have him defend what the Democrats stand for. Mr. Barletta defended what the Republicans stand for. But folks, you have a lot of money in the bank. You work so hard. Now you have to invest it with somebody. Will you give it to Obama or will you give it to Romney? Okay, you decide. November 6th, very important. Most importantly, vote. We'll see you next time on the Sam Lesante Show. SSPTV.com 24/7. Willing to listen to any comment you have. SSPTV.com. We'll see you next time.